Hi guys, so today we are going to be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful peplum blouse with a front zipper and a bishop collar. It is detailed, beginner friendly and very easy to understand. So if this looks like what you really wish to learn, please keep on watching. And if this is your first time on the channel, please click on the subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell so you can get notified whenever I post a new video. And also don't forget to like, share and drop a comment. So the first thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to draft on the pattern paper, after which we'll go ahead to transfer it to the main fabric. And I'll be drafting the front of the peplum blouse first. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to draw a straight horizontal line at the top of my paper like you see me doing in the video. This line is going to be serving as the shoulder line. Next, I'm going to go ahead to mark my zipper allowance, and I'll be marking 2" inward like this for the zipper allowance. I'll go ahead to mark the 2" all the way down, after which I'll connect the point together with a straight line like you see me doing in the video. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I'll be starting my measurement from this zipper allowance line. So I'm going to go ahead to insert my shoulder divided by 2 at this point, which is 8", and I'll go ahead to mark the 8" like this. After marking it, I'll be coming down by 1" for the shoulder slope, and I'll go ahead to mark that also. After which I'll go ahead to insert the armhole depth line from that point. So I'll go ahead to mark 8.5" as my armhole depth line. Then I'll go ahead to draw the armhole depth like you see me doing in the video. So I'm going to go ahead to label this part as the chest line. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert my vertical measurement. So I'm going to go ahead to place my staple on the shoulder line like this, and I'll go ahead to insert my shoulder to bust point line, and I'll go ahead to mark that. After marking that, I'll go ahead to insert the shoulder to under bust and shoulder to the half length. Once I'm done inserting those measurements, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to draw straight horizontal line like you see me doing in the video. I'm going to go ahead to label this part as the bust point. This part is the under bust, and here we have the waistline. Once I'm done doing this, the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to draw out my dart. And in doing that, I'm going to go ahead to mark half of my nipple to nipple measurement on the bust point line, on the under bust line, and also on the waistline. So you go ahead to divide your bust span measurement by 2. Whatever you get, you go ahead to mark it like so. Then you connect the 3 points together with a straight line like this. So once I'm done doing this, the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to draw the dart, and I'm going to be using 2.5" for the dart. So I'm going to go ahead to measure 0.5" on the center panel, then I'll insert the remaining 2" on the side panel. So I'm going to go ahead to mark 0.5" on this side of the bust here. Once I'm done doing that, I'll go ahead to mark the remaining 2" on the other side, then I'll go ahead to connect the point together with a straight line like you see me doing in the video. So the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to come down by 1" from the bust point line and mark. Then I'll go ahead to connect it to the under bust using the curved part of my ruler like you see me doing in the video. So next we're going to move over to the armhole to draw the armhole dart, and in doing that, what I'm going to go ahead to do is to divide what I have on the armhole depth line into 2 like this, and I'll go ahead to mark it. After marking, I'll connect this point to the bust point line using my ruler like this. So after connecting it to the bust point line, the next I'm going to go ahead to do now is to come down by 1.5" for the armhole dart, after which I'll go ahead to connect it back to the bust point line. Once I'm done doing this, I'm going to go ahead to replace this 1.5" upward like this and mark. Then I'll go ahead to extend the line like you see me doing in the video. This is going to help avoid shortage when you are joining the center panel to the side panel. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to blend the bust point area to eliminate every sharp edge on this side of the bust. Then we'll move over to inserting the bust circumference and the waist circumference. So on the chest line, I'm going to go ahead to insert my bust measurement divided by 4, and I'll go ahead to mark it. After marking that, I'll go ahead to measure what I have on this dart area, and I'll go ahead to replace that on the side also. So once I'm done doing this, I'm going to move over to the waistline. On the waistline, I'm going to go ahead to insert my waist divided by 4. After marking it, I'll go ahead to measure what I have on this dart area, which is 2.5", and I'll go ahead to replace it on the side and mark. After which, I'll go ahead to connect the sides together with a straight line like you see me doing in the video. So after connecting the side, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert my sewing allowance. So I'm going to go ahead to mark 2 inch for the sewing allowance on the chest line and also on the waistline, after which I'll connect the 2 points together with a straight line again like this. Then I'll go ahead to draw the armhole curve with the curved part of my ruler like this. So after drawing the armhole, the next thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to draw the neckline for the blouse we are making. So because we are going to be attaching a bishop collar to this dress, the neck width and the neck depth is going to be 3 inch. To avoid having a wider neck after sewing the dress, so I'm going to go ahead to insert my neck width now. So here I marked 3.5 inch for the neck width, but I later had to change it to 3 inch because I discovered that the neck was too wide. So when drafting yours, make sure you use a neck width of 3 inch like this. Then you go ahead to draw your shoulder slope, and for the neck depth, use 3 inch also for the neck depth. So once you're done doing that, the next thing you're going to go ahead to do is to draw a simple round neck with the curved part of your ruler like you see me doing in the video. So this is what the front block of the blouse is going to look like. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut it out. So after cutting, this is what it is going to look like. So next we are going to move over to drafting the back of the blouse. So for the back of the blouse, the back is going to be a simple basic bodice without a zipper allowance because we've already gone ahead to add the zipper allowance to the front block of the blouse. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to draw my shoulder line like this. Then I'll go ahead to start inserting my measurement. So you will not be adding a zipper to the back again because we've already gone ahead to do that for the front block of the dress. So first I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert my shoulder divided by 2 and mark. After marking it, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll go ahead to insert my armhole depth, which is 8.5 inch. Once I'm done doing this, I'm going to go ahead to draw the armhole depth line like you see me doing in the video. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert my vertical measurement. So I'm going to go ahead to insert my shoulder to bust point measurement and I'll go ahead to mark. After which I'll go ahead to insert the shoulder to the half length. So the length of the front and the back is not always the same. The difference between the front and the back is between 1.5 inch to 2 inch depending on the body type. So it is advisable to measure your client's shoulder to waist for the front and the back separately so that you will know the difference between the front and the back. Once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert my bust measurement divided by 4 on the chest line and mark plus 2 inch sewing allowance. Then on the waistline, I'll go ahead to insert my waist measurement divided by 4 and I'll go ahead to mark that. After marking, I'll add 1 inch for the waist dart, then I'll add my sewing allowance of 2 inch. Once I'm done doing this, I'm going to go ahead to connect the sides together with a straight line like you see me doing in the video. Once I'm done doing this, I'm going to go ahead to draw the armhole curve for the back, then we'll move over to taking out the dart. So for the dart, I'll go ahead to insert half of my nipple to nipple measurement on the chest line and also on the waistline. After which, I'll go ahead to connect the points together with a straight line like you see me doing in the video. Once I'm done doing this, I'm going to go ahead to take out a dart of 0.5 inch on both sides like this. Then I'll go ahead to connect it back to the chest line using my ruler like this. So this is what the dart is going to look like. So next we are going to move over to the neckline. So for the neckline, I'm going to go ahead to mark a neck width of 3 inch. Then I'll go ahead to insert a neck depth of 1 inch. After which I'll go ahead to draw the neckline like you see me doing in the video. Then I'll go ahead to draw the shoulder slope. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut it out. So after cutting it out, this is what the back block of the blouse is going to look like. So the next we are going to go ahead to do now is to cut out the flare for the peplum blouse we are making. So for the flare, I'm going to be cutting out 2 full circle. That means I'm going to be cutting out 2 360-degree flare because the peplum has some pleats on the side, and that is why I want to cut out 2 full circle. So if you don't have enough fabric, you can simply go ahead to cut out 1 full circle, then you add some inches to your actual waist measurement for the pleat. But because the waist measurement I'm working with is 39 inch, which is a big waist, I'm going to go ahead to cut out 2 full circle using my actual waist measurement so that I'll be able to create pleats on the peplum. So if you don't have enough fabric, you can simply go ahead to just cut cut one full circle and add some extra inch for your pleat. So the next thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to calculate the radius. So for the radius, I'll go ahead to divide my waist by 6.28. So my waist is 39 divided by 6.28 is 6.5 approximately. So I'm going to be using 6.5 inch for the waist radius for the peplum I'm going to be cutting. So next, I'll go ahead to calculate the amount of fabric I'm going to be folding. So the flare length I'm working with is 9 inch plus this 6.5 inch, then plus 1 inch sewing allowance. So when you add this up, you're going to be having 16.5 inch. So when folding my fabric, I'm going to be folding my fabric using this 16.5 inch you see here. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to illustrate how to cut out the full circle on this brown paper. So if you look at the style we are trying to recreate, the style has Ankara at the top and the down has a plain fabric. So that means you're going to go ahead to cut out the full circle, after which you're going to go ahead to divide it, then you go ahead to cut out your Ankara and your plain fabric. So it is advisable you cut out a pattern for it first using your pattern paper or your lining to do that before you go ahead to cut on your fabric. I hope this is clear. So I'm going to be illustrating with this brown paper you see here because the brown paper is not wide enough to accommodate my measurements. So that is why I'm just using this for illustration. The first thing you're going to go ahead to do is to fold your brown paper into 4 like so. Then you're going to go ahead to start inserting your measurement from this folded part. You're going to place your tape rule on the tip like this. Then you go ahead to take your waist radius, which is 6.5 inch. That was what we calculated. So I'll go ahead to mark the 6.5 inch all the way around like you see me doing in the video. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert the flare length from this part. So I'm going to be assuming that this is my actual flare length. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to insert the flare length like this. I'll go ahead to mark it all the way around like you see me doing in the video. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut out the flare like you see me doing in the video. So this is what you're going to be having once you're done cutting out the flare. The next thing you're going to go ahead to do now is to divide the flare into 2. That is, the upper part is going to be the Ankara, while the lower part is going to be the plain fabric. So before dividing it into 2, make sure you cut the piece that you'll be using for your lining, because the lining will not be divided. It is only your Ankara and the plain fabric that will be divided. The next thing you're going to go ahead to do now is to divide the flare into 2, or you can decide to make the Ankara part bigger than the plain part depending on how you want it to be. So I'm not going to go ahead to divide this paper into 2 like you see me doing in the video. So after dividing, this is what it is going to look like. The next thing you're going to go ahead to do now is to cut through this part that you just marked. So after cutting, this is what you are going to be having. So the upper part is going to be your Ankara fabric, while the lower part is going to be your plain fabric. And also when cutting, you're going to be adding a sewing allowance of 0.5 inch on this part you see me touching, so that when joining, it is going to fit in properly. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to repeat the same process on my lining, after which I'll go ahead to cut it out on my fabric. So here I have the upper bodice of the peplum blouse I'm going to be making. So I'm going ahead to cut out my fabric using my pattern, and while cutting, I added sewing allowance of 0.5 inch on the neckline, on the shoulder line, and also on the side and on the hem. While on this part, I added on this side of this part. I did not add on the side because I already added while I was drafting. Then for the back block, I added to the shoulder and also to the hem of the bodice. So the first thing we're going to go ahead to do now is to work on the front block of the blouse we are making. So while cutting, I also went ahead to cut out my lining, so don't forget to do that because you'll be needing your lining for this blouse. And also I went ahead to pad my bustier using my ST. So this is what it is going to look like once you're done padding it. So the next thing you're going to go ahead to do now is to join the center panel to the side panel. So when padding your bustier, do not pad to the zipper allowance area. So next I'm going to go ahead to join the center block to the side block. Once I'm done doing that, I'll come back to show you what to do next, and I'll be doing the same thing on the lining of the bustier also. So after I was done joining the center to the side, this is what it is going to look like. I also went ahead to open up the seam and I gave it a good press, and this is what I have. I also went ahead to do the same thing for the lining. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to join my lining piece to my main fabric. So I go ahead to place them, making sure that the good face are facing each other like this. So once I'm done doing this, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to close up the center front and the side of the front block. I'll be leaving the neckline open, and also the hem is going to be open. And I'll also be doing the same thing for the back block. So for the back block, I'll go ahead to sew in the dart first, then I'll go ahead to close up the side of the back block. The neck area and the hem will be left open. So I'm going to go over my sewing machine to quickly do this, then I'll come back to show you what to do next. So after I was done joining the lining to the main fabric, this is what it is going to look like, and this is what the inner part of the blouse is going to look like. So also make sure you trim the armhole area if you have any excesses at that point, so that you don't have issues when it comes to fixing of the sleeve. So this is what you're going to be having once you're done doing this. So the next we're going to go ahead to do now is to join the front and the back together. So here I have the back block. I'm going to go ahead to place it on the front block like this, then I'll go ahead to close up the shoulder area and the side. So I'm going to go over my sewing machine to quickly do that, then I'll come back to show you what to do next. So after I was done joining the front and the back block of the blouse together, this is what it is going to look like, and this is what the inner part of the blouse is going to look like once you're done joining them together. The next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to move over to working on the flare of the peplum blouse we are making. So after cutting the flare on my fabric, this is what it is going to look like. So here I have the Ankara and the plain fabric I'll be using for the peplum blouse we are making, and also here I have the lining. So when cutting out your lining is not going to be divided into two like you have on your main fabric. So this is what the lining is going to look like. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to start joining these two pieces together. So I have to cut this on my lining first before I went ahead to cut it on the main fabric, and here I have two full flares. I did the same thing for the plain material I'm going to be using for the peplum. So for the plain fabric, I'm using a velvet material for the plain side of the peplum. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to cut one part of the peplum open. So I'm going to be illustrating with one of the flare, but I'll be repeating the same thing on the other one also. So first you're going to go ahead to cut one part of the flare open like you see me doing in the video, and you'll be repeating the same thing on your plain fabric also. After cutting one part of the peplum open, the next you are going to go ahead to do now is to join the two of them together, placing them like so. So you're going to go ahead to stitch the two of them together, and I'll be repeating the same thing on the other flare also. So after I was done joining the flare together, this is what it is going to look like. So after joining, you're going to go ahead to notch it, open up the seam and give it a good press. And this is what I had once I was done doing that. And here I have the other flare, and I repeated the same process on the second flare also. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to join the two flares together. And in doing that, you're going to go ahead to join them, making sure that the good face of the flare are facing each other. Then you go ahead to close it up with your sewing machine like so. So once I'm done closing it up, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to attach my lining piece to it. So I'm also going to go ahead to join the two flares of the lining together. Then I'll go ahead to attach the lining to my main fabric. So after I was done joining my lining to my main fabric, this is what the peplum is going to look like. So when working with a fabric like velvet, you need to be careful so that you don't end up with one part looking longer than the other. So it was not really easy working with this fabric, but I just had to find my way through it. And I also went ahead to close up the waist area of the flare. So the next thing we are going to go ahead to do now is to join the upper bodice to the flare part of the peplum blouse we are making. So here I have the upper bodice of the peplum blouse we are making. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to mark out my zipper allowance on both sides like this. I'll go ahead to mark the zipper allowance out like so. So once I'm done marking it, from this point where I have my zipper allowance, I'm going to be going in by 2.5 inch. This is the point where my pleat is going to be starting from, because I'm going to be adding a black strip to the front of the peplum blouse, and the width of the black strip I'm working with is 1 inch. So I'm going to be adding two of them to each side of the peplum, so that is 2 inch. So you're going to be going in by 2 inch from your zipper allowance part like this and mark. So when you are attaching your pleat to the upper bodice, you are going to start creating your pleat from this point you just mark like so. So your pleat is going to be starting like 4 inch away from the center block of the peplum you are making. So, and also when sewing your peplum to the blouse, remember we are going to be creating pleats on the blouse. So the pleats on the peplum are going to be facing facing opposite direction. That is, they are not going to be going along one direction. The one on the right is going to be facing the right, while the one on the left is going to be facing the left. So I'm just going to go ahead to illustrate it like you see me doing in the video. So the pleat on this side of the peplum is going to be facing this side like so. So it's going to be facing your right. So I don't know if this is clear. The pleat on your right is going to be facing your right, while the pleat on the left side is going to be facing the left side. I hope the point I'm trying to make is clear. So the pleat on the left is going to be facing this direction. So the pleats will not be going in one direction. They'll be facing themselves, so that you will have this straight shape on the center part of the blouse for you to fix your zipper and also to fix the black strip to your blouse. And also, before pleating on the upper part of the bodice, I will advise you create your pleat and pin it down on the upper bodice first before you go ahead to start stitching, so that the flare will be evenly distributed around the waist area and you not have one part having more pleat than the other. So to avoid that, I will advise you pin it down first before you go ahead to start stitching. So I'm going to go ahead to quickly do all this, then I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So after I was done attaching the peplum to the upper bodice, this is what we are going to be having. So as you can see, the flare is facing opposite direction. So the one on the left is facing the left, while the one on the right is facing the right, like you see on the peplum I have. So this is what you are going to be having once you're done attaching your peplum to the upper bodice. So the next thing you're going to go ahead to do now is to attach the black strip to the center of your peplum. So this is the shiny bias I'm going to be using for that. So the first thing you're going to go ahead to do first is to mark out your zipper allowance. So you're going to go ahead to mark out your zipper allowance first. So from where the zipper allowance stop, that is where you're going to be placing the first strip on. So once you place it down to the hem, you're going to go ahead to place the other one close to it. And to make placing the black strip easier, the first thing you're going to go ahead to do is to keep it in place with your hemming gum first, then you go ahead to run a stitch on it. So after I was done placing the black strip on the blouse, this is what it is going to look like. So to make it easier for you, the first thing to do is to fold in your zipper allowance first. So what I did was to fold in my zipper allowance and I gave it a good press. So after I was done doing that, I went ahead to place my black strip on it, securing it with my hemming gum first, after which I ran a stitch on it. So when folding your zipper allowance, make sure that you fold it so that what you have on this part will be straight, so that you'll be able to fix your zipper on it without having any issue later on. So once you have all this in place, the next you're going to go ahead to do now is to attach the collar to the dress. So in the previous tutorial, I shared how to cut, sew and attach a bishop collar to the peplum blouse. So I'll be dropping the link in the description box for you to go ahead to check it out, and this video you see playing here is part of that tutorial. So I'll be linking the video to this one, so you can go ahead to see how to attach the bishop collar to your blouse. So after I was done making the bishop collar, this is what it is going to look like once you're done making it. So this is what you should have. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to attach the black strip to the bishop collar, and in doing that, I'm going to go ahead to place the black strip on the collar like so. Then I'll use my hemming gum to secure it. Once I'm done securing it with my hemming gum, the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do is to run a stitch on it. So I'm going to go over my sewing machine to quickly do that, then I'll come back to show you what it looks like. So after I was done attaching the black strip to the collar, this is what we are going to be having. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is to attach my zipper to the blouse. Then I'll go ahead to attach the sleeve to the blouse, after which I'll come back to show you the final look of the peplum blouse. So after I was done fixing my zipper and the sleeve, this is what the peplum blouse is going to look like. So if this video was helpful to you, please don't forget to subscribe if you are yet to, and also don't forget to like, share and drop a comment. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next tutorial.